How do you get a meeting with an owner of a boutique premier advertising agency managing millions in budgets, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on music? How do you get a meeting with that person when you're a complete nobody? No reel, no credibility. Let me tell you what you don't do. You definitely don't send an email saying, "Trust me, I'm really good." In this conversation, I break down the unconventional strategy that I use to get in the room with industry legends like David Angelo, David Droga, Jeff Goodby, and many others. This is a move that is so simple, yet so genius, if I may say so myself, that it turned complete strangers into decade-long collaborators who ended up handing me multiple five-figure projects. And here's the thing. You can do this too. You can grab our playbook below for less than the price of a burrito. You'll get the exact outreach scripts and the step-by-step system to turn absolute strangers into kindred spirits, into warm relationships that will actually like you, trust you, and pay you handsome fees to create beautiful music right out of your home studio. Let's dive in.
Tell me about the most creative way you got a new client's attention, and what are sales tricks you have that work like a charm for anyone? The very first step, you're a stranger to this person and you know you can help them out. How did you get them on board with what you can do?
Yeah. The interesting thing that I used to do that I often talk about is before I had any gigs and credibility in the business and I was trying to establish myself in some way. Like, how do you do that? It's really hard to establish credibility when you send someone an email saying, "Trust me, I'm really good." Yeah. What is that, right? And the thing with me was that I was not after the music houses once I got in the business, because I was working in the music house when I got in the business. So now my goal was to actually befriend creative directors at agencies, which definitely are not going to respond well to, "Hi, I'm a music producer at a music house. I'm really, really good." So how do you do it, man? You know, that question occupied pretty much every shower that I took for like 2 years in a row, because I think in the shower, ideas come to me in the shower. Here's the first idea that came to me in a shower. It was 2007. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a podcast. And this podcast will be like the soap opera of the ad industry. So I'll like get creative directors to talk about what they're doing, to make fun of other creative directors. And then when this creative director makes fun of some creative director, like his friend, and say that he's a hack, that was the word back then for like someone who was, just a fraud. You called him a hack. Then I will go to that and I'll say, "Do you know what Marianne said about you?" It's like, "What?" "Well, let me play you," right? And then so we had this like portal back in the day for the advertising industry, and it was called I Have an Idea. And I thought, okay, here's the triangulation. I'm going to basically invite creative directors to a podcast instead of sending them an email saying, "Hey, work with me." I'm going to write them a thing. I'm going to say like, "Hey, do you know that I Have an Idea," which is this huge ad industry portal, now has a podcast, and it's basically like where music and ads make out, and then we throw some gossip in there. Well, imagine you get that email. It's like, "Hey, I'm inviting you to be a part of this new thing, which is connected to this thing that already exists." So you have credibility and validation. It's like thinking strategically, you know? And then what I would do is basically I would create these mixed tapes because I was a DJ. So my idea, and this is what we always teach in the academy, is like, what are all the things that you're good at that are not just necessarily about music making, that you can combine together in a powerful thing that will leverage all of you, like literally all of you. And so you can see how this podcast idea was a triangulation of many things. Number one, I was a DJ, so I can definitely make a mixtape, like literally make a mixtape, like mix it. I can basically share the kind of music that reflects my taste and that at the same time could probably be a licensable track in advertising. Then on top of that, I'll make a personal connection with the creative director because I will interview them so they will get to know me. And then they will actually introduce me to other creative directors because they'll see how fun it is. They'll talk shit about another creative director, and that'll give me an excuse to reach out to that other creative director. On top of that, because I grew up with college radio stations and they had this whole concept of like shutouts, right? Like, yo, this is Tommy Z, and I'm listening to whatever, this and that. And I was like, I'm going to get each of these creative directors to give me a shout out. And they're like, they were like delighted, right? Because like who comes into their agency with a professional recorder and goes, all right, so now we'll need a shout out for the thing we just did an interview for. They're like, so what do I say? And I remember like I made so many friends that way, people who are still friends to this day, right? Who are like top ranked creatives in the business. I'll give you an example. We reached out to David Angelo, who is the owner of David and Goliath, a boutique. Now they're sold to a bigger agency, to a bigger network. But when they were started, David and Goliath was basically a boutique agency. And their client was Kia, one of their main clients, but they had all sorts of other clients. And David Angelo had this whole philosophy of like helping smaller brands to be the David going against the Goliath with pure creativity, right? So it's a great concept. So I remember we reached out to him and we invited him to this thing. And because he was crazy and he loved these things, and because he's such a talker, we were like, yeah, for sure. So he agreed. So then we had an hour-long conversation on this podcast. I got him to give me a great shout out. So now I have the owner and chief creative officer of David and Goliath saying, yo, this is David Angelo, and I'm listening to Tommy Z. What do you think that does to your credibility? Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I still think back on this and I'm like, dude, this is genius. Why are we not doing this? We should have a freaking podcast. Wait a minute. The interesting thing back then is like there was not a lot of people actively listening to podcasts. In 2007, you literally, like, podcast was a thing already, and you had people nerding out on podcasts, but it wasn't like a thing like it is today. But you know what? It was totally irrelevant because I don't even know if anyone listened to the podcast. It achieved my aim because I got to meet creative directors. They thought I was connected, well connected. I had David Droga on a podcast. I had David Droga giving me a shout out. Right? I had David Droga talking about what kind of sandwiches he eats on the subway. Like, so it all, like, it was just incredible. I just realized the power of like trying to find unconventional ways that will position you while at the same time developing a connection, you know, meaningfully. And so what happened with David? I think about a month or two after we recorded the podcast, and he doesn't notice, but I pretended that I'm going to be in LA. I literally wrote him an email and I'm like, I'm going to be in LA on some project. It'd be cool to pop by and just shake hands and meet personally. And he's like, what? Are you crazy? No, you got to come down to the agency. We got to hang out. We got to do dinner, blah, 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 right? So it's the power of pull and not push, right? I didn't say anything about dinner. I didn't say anything about scotch. I didn't say anything about all the crazy stuff that we ended up doing over, well, maybe I shouldn't say. but it kind of looked like a Hunter Thompson novel, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, if anyone's ever seen it. That's what it ended up being. The old school advertising, crazy 3 days of whatever. But it just shows you, like, the thing is that I felt I could be in the same room with people like David. I could hold my own. But the difficulty is, like, how do you even get yourself in that room? That's the challenge. And so that podcast was just a very elaborate way of doing that, and I think it worked out. Um,
Yeah, it's interesting how podcast is it has is way more palatable than, hey, can we hop on an hour-long call, stranger? Because I like what you do.
but do
Yeah,
you know why that is?
I guess part of it is like it's like an invitation rather than an ask. Even though in reality they're basically the same. Your podcast was an hour-long conversation with somebody you wanted to work with. But
Yeah.
I think there's some sort of like immediate admiration, and it sort of sets you up as equals because you're going to be the host of something that you're bringing them into rather than simply trying to get in with them.
Yeah.
It's I feel like, yeah, there are a lot of psychological layers to it.
Yeah, I think one of the main driving things is like, they get to express themselves.
Mhm.
Whereas the average invitation to a Zoom call is like, oh, so this is a stranger who want to sell me on their thing for 15 minutes, and I'll just nod my head and go, yeah, yeah, for sure. And then hopefully not have to ever see that person again. So with a podcast, it's different. Like if I say to you, hey man, I want to invite you to a place where we are training the next generation of musical geniuses all over the world on how to create goosebumps for people while making a living. Can you just join us and like share your journey in bridging money and creativity together in a beautiful, harmonious synergy?
Yeah.
Phew, I'm like, yeah, I know something about that. Like, yeah, man,
And when you
contribute to
frame it
the
that way,
contribute
sorry,
to the next generation. Like, what? Yeah,
yeah. When you frame it that way, it's now a conversation with everyone rather than a single person you might not even like. Like at the
right.
very least, somebody might watch this and hear my value, even if the other guy, I don't want to talk to him.
Absolutely. You're literally unlocking more value all around. And I think that's the way that we need to teach musicians to think about the craft, their outreach, communication, their whole business. It's like, how do you unlock more value? Because it always pays more dividends than the kind of like short-sighted, selfish, like, I really hope that they have a meeting with me so I can really convince them to work with me. I mean, literally nobody has ever been successful on on a meaningful scale doing that. And yet it's kind of like our default thing that we automatically go to. It's like, oh, I need to get a project. Okay, so I will reach out to someone who can give me the project and just in a passive aggressive way say, so, don't forget, if you ever have anything, I'm here. I'm over here. It's like,
Yeah.
shut up. You know, it's like, hey, I say this with empathy, man, because I've written those emails, but that's lazy. Literally, it's lazy. What you got to do is like basically think for 2 years in your shower. How can you triangulate a bunch of factors together that combine you? Because don't forget, man, when I showed up to that podcast, I wasn't awkward. I was this guy,
Mhm.
fluent, like fluent, like alliterations happening, comfortable as a radio host because I used to host college radio shows, comfortable as a DJ, just owning my vibe, right? What I wasn't comfortable in is like being a seasoned music producer in the ad industry. So I just used what I had to make pretend what I didn't have. And then, and this is very important, when you get in that room, like reality will verify. So I'm sure you talked a lot of shit, Marion, like trying to get into the business. Now, when you got that brief, if you talked shit and you were full of nothing but shit, it would very quickly be verified. And I'm not saying that every pitch you land, every conversation you have is going to be a slam dunk. No, but on average, you're going to have a decent batting average if you're not full of shit. Even if you did have to do some shit talking like I did, you will get an opportunity and things will verify themselves. And they did for me. I ended up meeting with David. We actually ended up, if you look at the domino effect of that first podcast and then the decade that followed, every time I emailed him after that and I said, I'm going to be in LA, he's like, you're coming to my house. I'd literally go to his house. We'd eat ungodly amounts of ice cream while looking at interesting things on the internet. Like cool, like buddies, man, like buddies, right? Even today, like every time we send an email out, he's on the email list. Like he'll go, what's going on, brother? Just like this, right? This is someone who's had a tremendous career in the ad business, building a boutique agency, selling it to a major agency. Now he's riding off into the sunset, right? With probably a nice long figure on his account, on his bank balance. But it all started from a stupid invitation to a podcast and then just keeping in touch. He opened an agency in Toronto. He asked me, who should I staff my agency with? I literally introduced him to the best creative directors in Toronto who ended up working for him. Like even my best friends ended up working for him in Toronto at David and Goliath Toronto. We ended up doing their work. Man, single podcast invitation, right? So it's like the thing you want to think about is how do you create the conditions for a meaningful encounter to happen that will put you at your best, that will allow you to just feel natural, and then realize that out of the 10 people you invite to the conversation, 3 will be absolutely awkward because the Tommy Z vibe will not work. They will be intimidated. They will be like, this guy is a total clown. 3 people will be like, okay. 2 people will be absolutely huge fans, connection. It's not even about fans because it's reciprocal. You're literally resonating. You want to be together as much as possible. 2 people out of 10. And that's all you need when you're getting started. That's all you need, man. You can't handle work from 10 people. You can't do it, right? So you start with the 2. You ask the 2 to refer you. They do, because why wouldn't they? They love you. And your career takes off from there.